Price Check in here, dude. Your favorite DFS plays in the following price ranges. Erik, start me out with your pitcher who's going to cost at least $8,000 or more.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones at the top of the slate tonight, but I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to get to gush about Logan Webb this season, so I'm going to do that now. Everything he's done seems to be for real. There's almost nobody like him in baseball history, at least from what we can see. So we have ground ball data on Fangraphs, goes back to 2002. There's only been 30 pitchers who've thrown at least as many innings as he has while having a ground ball rate as good as his 61.1% mark. Almost all of them, as you would expect, are low strikeout guys. They average only a 17.3% strikeout rate. He's the highest among that group at 26.2%. Almost nobody even comes close. One of the closest seasons to what he's done this year is actually Dallas Keuchel's Cy Young year in 2015. But even that year, Keuchel didn't have the same strikeout rate, 23.7%, 2.5 points below. So basically, we're talking about peak Dallas Keuchel with more strikeouts is what Logan Webb has been this season. He's facing an Atlanta team that's not an easy matchup, but they're pretty middle of the pack in terms of offense. And again, I'll take Cy Young Dallas Keuchel with more strikeouts against just about anybody, especially at a pitcher-friendly park in San Francisco.
All right, Kenny, you got a good chunk of dudes to choose from here.
Yeah, we got a lot. And this might be the boring answer, but I do like paying all the way up for Zach Wheeler here. It has been a little bit of a scary sight for him over the last, 2 months, but he seems to be coming back down to earth, and coming back down to earth for Zach Wheeler is pitching like the NL Cy Young. Just 1 earned run in his last 2 outings, 5 hits apiece, 17 total strikeouts over 12 2/3 innings. And when you look at his career against the New York Mets, he just owns them. Emerson, he's pitched against 7 times against the Mets, 2.72 ERA, 7.33 strikeout to walk ratio, 44 strikeouts and 49 2/3 innings. He knows this team very well. He used to play for them. He is 10.6K, which is a lot of money, but I think that given every individual matchup that he has against the Mets, he has been very, very solid against them all. I think that he has what it takes tonight to have a pretty good start, quiet this Mets team down. And when you look at Taijuan Walker on the other side, he might be a little injured. He's having issues lately. The Phillies coming off that ridiculous win. I think that he has a pretty good chance to win this game outright as well, get you some more points that way.
Kenny, a lot of pitchers over 8K, as you mentioned, to choose from. But with all 30 teams in action on this 15-game slate, a lot of pitchers under $8,000 to choose from as well. So who was your guy there, Kenny?
A lot of them, yeah, they aren't really that appealing. So I'm going to go with Adrianhauser at $7,100. Now, the Cubs, they have learned to hit lately, but if you saw, last night's game, this is a team in full tank mode right now. They don't have that many major league caliber players at hitting the baseball. When you look at Adrianhauser, he's just a start removed from a complete game shutout. He's been very, very solid. He's thrown over 100 pitches in each of his last 2 outings, which is a telltale sign that, while you do see that RP next to his name, he should be pitching deep into this game. And what I'm looking at closely is he's had over 10 ground balls in each of his last 2 starts. Chicago, a pretty extreme ground ball team, over 42% of the time, ball going on the ground. So I think that this is a pretty good formula here for potentially a win, potentially 6 good innings from Adrianhauser, maybe even better. He's figured out how to pitch, and it's not very difficult to pitch to this Cubs team. I'm not too concerned with, all the runs they scored last night against Matt Moore. I think that this lineup comes back down to earth here. Adrianhauser is a pretty good deal at $7,100.
Erik, which pitcher under $8,000 is appealing to you?
Yeah, the cheap guys tonight are cheap for a reason, unsurprisingly. There's really only 2 that I had any interest in. Hauser's one of them, and the other would be Eliezer Hernandez at $6,800 against the Pirates. It's been a rough year for Hernandez. He landed on the 60-day injured list after both of his first 2 starts. Bicep the first time, skipped over the tricep straight to the quadricep the second time. But since there's no pentacept or hexacept that I'm aware of, I think he should be fine the rest of the way. In the starts that he has made, 4.14 ERA seems more or less deserved. That's nothing special. Combines basically a league average strikeout rate with a very low walk rate of just 4.4%. The main reason I'm interested in him, though, is because he showed something last year, similarly very low walk rate with a very high strikeout rate it came over just 6 starts, but 32.1% last year is really something. Hasn't quite shown that this year. But if there's ever a time to be against a Pirates team that ranks second last in WRC plus on the season and last since the trade deadline, and he'll be facing them at a very friendly park down in Miami. So I think it's a great situation for a guy who has at least shown something in the past, which is not something you can say for most of today's inexpensive arms.
What about dudes who can swing good wood? Erik, a hitter over $4,500.
Yeah, I'm going to go near the bottom of that range because I think I'd be paying up for probably 2 pitchers unless, again, I go with Hernandez tonight. And that'd be Carlos Correa at 4,700. He's swinging a hot bat lately. In his last 12 games, 3 homers, 12 RBI, hitting 306 over that stretch. And really all season, it's been very encouraging for him. He's shown almost as much power as ever. Hit his 23rd homer of the season last night. That's just one shy of his career high. But perhaps even more encouraging is his plate discipline is the best we've ever seen it. 18.6% strikeout rate is his best mark since his rookie season back in 2015. He's combined that with a career high 12.2% walk rate. So he's seeing the ball as well as ever. He'll face Madison Bumgarner, who's coming off 3 straight starts in which he gave up 5 earned runs. And actually, if you look over his last 4, his fastball is down to just 89.3 miles per hour. That's more than a tick below the 90.6 mile per hour it was over his first 19 outings. So it seems like he's fading down the stretch and hasn't really been impressive overall this season. 4.66 ERA. So pretty great matchup for a guy who's been good all year and especially lately.
Kenny, which hitter are you paying up for?
I'm going with another Astro, Jose Altuve at $5,000. He's 8 for 23 in his career against Madison Bumgarner, a .391 expected batting average in there, 2 home runs out of those 8 hits. And he's another guy that's red hot at the plate, 29th best OPS in baseball over the last 2 weeks. He's hitting 347. He's also hitting in a premium lineup spot here for the Houston Astros, who I just think are going to absolutely smack Madison Bumgarner tonight. Give him an early exit, and I think that Jose Altuve scores a couple runs, drives in a couple, probably a high probability for a home run off of Madison Bumgarner, given the expected batting average of 2 homers in his career against him, a guy that he's very familiar with. I think that he is a very safe play here and definitely worth your money.
All right, last question here, dudes. Make it count. Hitter under $4,500 on this MLB slate. Kenny?
Yeah, it's a guy by the name of Jesus Sanchez. I'm sure we've talked about him all week, $2,800. No one in baseball has more homers over the last week with 5 than Jesus Sanchez. And you look at the peripherals for him, he's hitting the ball pretty hard, either average or above average in the league. He's a left-handed back going up against righty Will Crow. Will Crow has been awful to a 5.97 ERA. He's given up 5 homers in his last 4 starts. Righties are 3.12 against him. Really, any way you slice it, Will Crow's been bad. Jesus Sanchez has been good. He's $2,800, and you get a guy who, over his last 6 games, that has 8 hits in 24 at-bats. I think that he's just, let's just fire him up again, right? What's the harm here?
Erik, take your pick.
I'm going to go with another cheap power bat, and that's Bobby Dalbec at 3,300. He was always projected to have huge raw power and huge swing and miss issues. That's who he's been this season, but it's been much better for him lately. If you look at his first 90 games, he hit just 215, on base only 260 over that stretch, wasn't walking at all, and was striking out over 38% of the time. You basically have to be Joey Gallo to make it work with a strikeout rate that high, and he's not quite Joey Gallo. 11 homers in those first 90 games. Since that point, in 31 games, he also has 11 homers, so again, in just about a third of the playing time. He's hitting 330 over that 31 game stretch, and he's cut his strikeout rate all the way down to 24.1%, which is a completely normal number. So if you're seeing the ball like he is now, and while he's kept that raw power, I would expect good things to keep happening for him, especially tonight against Keegan Aiken, who I kind of liked heading into the season because he had a strikeout rate just over 30% in a short debut last year. That number's fallen all the way down below 20% this season. It's led to a 6.83 ERA. He's also a lefty, and Bobby Dalbec has crushed lefties this season. He's hitting 280 against them compared to just 217 against righties. So I think it's a perfect time to use a guy who's been hot for well over a month.